Hey, Rise Up Nation, welcome back for our last episode for season 6. This is a wrap. 19 episodes, season 6, all spring. We did this, and diving into a summer of enjoyment and planning, and then we're going to go into season 7. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but we are here to have some open discussion today. I hope a bunch of people will jump on here and we can just chat it out about just some noise, basically. But I want to welcome my clean-shaven friend to the show. Vince, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You look so young.
Thank you. I'm working on small, consistent changes over time, like you always preach at me, as opposed to these big detoxes. So clean shaven, feeling healthier on my second bottle of water today because my water intake has not been good. And so hey, you know what? 19 episodes in, and we still have not managed to change the opening song that we both love. So season 7 or wherever we're at.
I don't even know how to change that. I hope if you're good at that, you're good at that, but I'm not. Those of you that are tuning in, let us know you're here. What happened? My screen just got small. Oh, there we go. If you're here, let us know. We're going to talk about some stuff, but I want to just be transparent. Yeah, I mean, what you were just talking about, those of you that are here, we're coastal South Carolina. We're in the real estate space. We've been doing this show for a few years and just enjoy like open discussion. And this will be a podcast come out next week on next Monday. They'll edit it. They'll take out all this. Hey, there's Tracy. Hey, Tracy. Glad to have you. Tracy smacked us all right in the forehead this morning with a message of motivation. As a matter of fact, I should find it and read it. Let me do that real quick, Vince. I think that would be a cool way to start the show because, man, it just, I told her.
Dylan White, he's present and accounted for. He's a couple rooms over. He's got his new Ray-Ban Meta glasses on this morning, I saw.
Recorded.
Recorded. The wave is coming.
So let me share this, and then we'll dive in. I think this is awesome. As we step into, I feel like I was reading the Bible when I started. Like I thought, this is good stuff. As we step into a brand new week, I just want to remind you of the unique and powerful opportunity we have each day. And here, Tracy was sharing this message with us privately, and now I'm publicly putting it out there to help our agents not only succeed, but to thrive. Our knowledge, our support, and most of all, our attitudes and uplifting spirits make all the difference. We're not just here to do a job. And this can go for all of us what it relates to me is in relationships, customers, clients. We're here to inspire confidence, to offer clarity when things feel overwhelming, and to cheer the loudest when someone achieves a win, big or small. The energy we bring sets the tone, and that ripple effect can change the whole course of someone's day or even their career. Let's keep showing up and I love that, showing up with open hearts, ready to serve, support, and shine a little brighter for those we're lucky enough to lead. Here's to a week full of impact. Rising up with impact. Tracy, that really, really meant a lot to me. And don't we need cheerleaders, Vince?
Yeah, I do.
I definitely do. Vince and I went off to a conference. Vince was there for about 12 hours, but
I was there. It was really high quality stuff. Made me on the fact that I couldn't stay the rest of the conference.
Yeah, you're awesome. We went to a little conference that Remax was doing, that was just high level, like interpersonal, how to communicate better, how to forecast, we did a lot with like behavioral, and Vince, you were not around for that deep dive on the behavioral patterns and motivators. Oh my gosh, I want to dig into all that as we talk. But I had a really shocking experience, Vince. Remember, they did the speaker. How would you describe that first speaker, Vince, that we had? To put you on the spot,
I would say talented. There was definitely a level of skill and talent in his craft. And his craft is basically asking you the right questions to help you self-discover. So after we left him, I was looking into like different things online. There's coaching certifications and programs, and this guy was more of a therapist.
Yep.
But I'm not convinced he couldn't ask me 7 to 10 questions at, I don't know, say I was 19 years old, that could direct the rest of my life trajectory.
Right. Right.
Powerful is a good word for him.
Yeah.
It was a little intimidating,
Yep.
because he required everything of yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's a skill out there that what Tad and I are getting at, and it's basically just prompting the right questions. Coaching, you could call it coaching, therapy,
Yeah.
counseling, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're really, really good at that, this was the first time I had seen someone who was, I would say, an expert in that skill.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. April, good morning. Glad to have you here on the show. And by the way, this is interactive. So you guys, by the way, by season 7, I'll get rid of these shadows. My light's good now, but my shadows are terrible with these giant glasses. But this is interactive. So you dive in and throw us questions. We want to talk about the industry in a couple of minutes. But I just want to share with you that this guy, he was a therapist, but he was a communications expert. And what he talked to us about was mirroring and matching people's body language and motion. I've heard all this before, like tonality, like the way that he talked. His voice never went away that he didn't want it to go. It was so calculated. Like it would go up when it needed to go up. It would go down when it needed to go down. And so we were doing this interpersonal stuff where we're asking questions. And it was, hey guys, good to have you all in here. Dan Ober and Emily Singleton, appreciate your tuning in. Dan, I hope you got that, and Emily, I hope you got that referral in Columbia set straight the other day. That was pretty cool. But so they asked for, long story short, they asked for a volunteer, and I wasn't going to volunteer because I'm actually dealing with a few things personally that I've been dealing with for a long time, and I'm getting to a kind of crescendo in my life in this issue. And actually, Vince, even you didn't know this, but before that, one of the other people at the conference, we had really connected because he's conquered some of the things that I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about getting my diet and exercise under control. You guys know me. You know, this has been something I've been talking about for a while. This guy had lost 50 pounds, and he was talking to me about what he'd done. And then the guy asked for a volunteer, and I wasn't going to volunteer because I didn't want to get up and get, like Vince just said, I didn't want to get up there and get exposed in front of everyone. But somebody in the back of the room shouted out my name. I don't know if it was God or Ben or who it was.
It was Ben Fairfield.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So before I knew it, I was up on the stage, and this guy's asking me questions, and he said, what's a goal that you want to achieve? And I told him, made the mistake of telling him, because the idea of the questioning was to get it down to just the making you make a commitment to do something that so you can get this outcome that you're looking for. Like you could say, I want to buy a boat. I want to make $1 million. Well, for me, it was, I want to get my diet and exercise under control. And the next thing I know, 10 minutes later, I was literally nearly in tears.
The room was tense,
uncomfortable.
and you had to make a decision to continue with this vulnerability in front of complete strangers for our betterment, because we were learning from this example. But this guy was so intense that it was not an example for him for the class. It was I'm going to help Tad Fulford change his life right now. He was in that mode.
Yeah. And I actually, Vince picked up on this. I tried to deflect with humor a few times during the episode because I wanted to, I was thinking he was going to wrap it up. Like he was going to quit before we got to the very end because I felt uncomfortable. I thought the room was uncomfortable. But he kept asking questions. And then it got to the very end. He goes, when do you think this is really going to change for you? And I was very honest. I said, I don't know, because I'm 56. I can remember when I was 40 saying the exact, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, making the same commitment when I was 40 that I'm still trying to make 15, 16 years later. This is still my thing, my issue. And I said, I've had 15 years of not making I said I'm going to commit, and then I haven't, and I'm not doing that again. I'm just not doing it. I'm not going to commit in front of this group of people and that I'm going to do something different because I don't know what it'll take. And he dug and dug and dug. And I finally said, you know what? If I got a bad letter or bill of health from a doctor, and he said, if you don't do this, then you will probably die. That would probably change my actions. And I was just reaching for something. Well, he ripped a piece of paper out of his notebook and wrote on it. I've got it right here in my bag. I can show it to you. He wrote on it. He goes, if you don't make this decision, or your life depends on you making this decision. And he signed it, doctor, and I won't share his last name, but because he's a doctor. And not a medical doctor, but he's a doctor. And he just tore, and he sat the piece of paper in front of me. And Vince, what was the feeling in the room when he did that?
I just got chills when just reliving it in my brain.
I mean, and then he pushed it further and he said, and I now want you to, what are you going to do about it? And I said, well, I was kind of blah, blah. No. Specifically. So long story short, I have now somebody, and Vince is going to be this person too, because I have this already written down. I've made 3 commitments that I'm sticking to. And that guy in that class is my accountability partner. He's going to help me. He lives in another state, lives in Michigan, but we're going to stay in touch. And Vince is going to help me with this. But long story short, man, I went to go learn something, and man, did I learn something.
Yeah, I was gonna record the interaction for a learning moment later. You guys talked. The whole thing was about 11 minutes. At the minute 5 mark, I turned off the phone. I was like, this is like, it was too real to like have it even ever be exposed because you were so vulnerable in that moment.
Yeah.
And I could watch you thinking ahead of you. You're a very intelligent guy. You knew we had been taught how to do this just before this.
Right.
So you knew the plan. You knew the playbook. And it was still that effective, even as a role play. So in your business, and this skill is something that I'm now excited about getting better at. And I think anyone watching our podcast should be excited about the ability to communicate at the highest effective level. And here's where it's at, people. You could say, oh, we're talking sales ninja. No, we're not. This guy talking to Tad Fulford wanted to help Tad Fulford. Genuinely, he personally wanted to ask the right questions and be the best communicator so Tad could help himself. So we approach interactions in sales that way. Your life's changed. Your business is changed. It's incredible.
Yeah, because here the cool thing, and you hit the nail right on the head. The cool thing was he did his only agenda. His only agenda was to help me. He got absolutely nothing out of that. He was not looking for any return. But what does it lead to? Well, Tracy just asked, does he have a book? Well, I mean, it may sell a book for this guy. When Tracy, I'll share it with you after. I'll get you his name because I'm sure he has a book. But he wasn't trying to sell anything. He was trying to help me. And the whole idea of this whole 3 days, which I went for a whole nother reason, and then just got hit right in the head, like Tracy's text this morning, right in the head with, hey, it's about helping people. It's about helping people. And if you can figure that secret out, like if you can, and what we did was now you guys have all heard disc analysis. I've heard of, you heard of this, Vince? You know what a disc analysis is, right?
Absolutely.
There's 40 different kinds. I didn't know this. There's 40 different, they call them assessments. Well, this guy that taught us one whole day was like he taught in a college, he taught 400 students at Texas A&M for 30 years. He's a professor emeritus from there. He taught this to them. He does the highest level class of that assessment. He gave it to us. It's even has his name on it. They've allowed him to put his own personal name on it. We took this and it came out. And you read that. I read this about myself. I read Vince's and I'm like, they've been listening to my entire life. Unreal. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, and don't roll your eyes at the disc thing if you're watching. Like this is different. Like the Abelson model. So I acquired a new reaction to some allergy that my body's developing and went into anaphylactic shock when I woke up. So I had to fly home. So I didn't even get the disc Dr. Abelson in person. However, I got to do the report and got my report back. And I've done, I don't know, a dozen discs, life through the military, through college, Remax. You guys put me through a few before you hired me. All great things. I read this one when I was finally able to breathe. And I texted you and I said, I think this is the best one I've ever received back. I think this is the most comprehensive, most digestible version of this test. Like this guy, I went on, you don't have Facebook anymore. I made a Facebook post about how incredible it was that you could craft these questions in this order and get such an accurate result. I'm thinking about what I read for my marriage right now, not just my business and life, but I want Jenna's results from this assessment.
Right.
And everybody, and this disc was just different how this guy's done it. It was good.
Yeah. So long story short, he allowed us to, we can take a certification, Vince. It's like 18 hours. He's going to offer it through Remax, 18 hours of certification of how to read this report. And I sent you a video on the plane on the way home. I was like, I gotta get this out of me because I need to figure out if somebody can help me with it. Like I feel like everybody I know needs to take this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and we talked about tiers of it. Like if you guys tell me if you'd be interested in this, maybe this would be a good test group. But how about knowing this about everybody in your life? They did say kids, they have to be like past adolescence for it to be super effective. But imagine all the adults in your life, your spouse, your partner, your adult children. You might think you know them, but when I read this about myself, I was like, wow, that is who I am. And it might be things you wouldn't even admit. So imagine if you knew this about all the friends in your adults in your life. Then imagine if you knew it about your team, if you have a team, or people working with you. Or this is what blows my mind. Imagine if you did it with customers and clients.
Yep. Imagine.
I mean, imagine if you knew and it was not only, just go ahead. I don't even like to use the word disc. You can throw that out because this was not, I've done discs till I'm disced in the head.
Yeah.
This was different. This was the Abelson assessment is what we're calling it. Then it gets into motivators. And Vince, what are we trying to find out about people all the time? What are you trying to find out about your customers and clients all the time, or your spouse? Their why.
Why and what motivates.
And it was so clear. It breaks it down in like 6 to 8. I think it was 6 or 8 different ways you're motivated. You have a primary one and a secondary one, and he went into evaluating how they all relate. And I'm sitting there going, if we figured out how to use this on a regular basis with humans, we would be incredible communicators, and we would be able to meet people where they are, save ourselves so much time. Do you agree with all this? Am I just too excited on a conference high?
I've got mine up. I'm not trying to look away here, but it hits me every time. He also uses your person. So like most reports I've done of like this type of person doesn't want this. This is like Vince does not like to be spoken to this way. If you speak to Vince this way, expect this.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah,
that's exactly how I'd react. And I know there's always naysayers in any good world, and I love being a naysayer and I love poking holes. This is not what I called on my Facebook post. Oh gosh, the word's slipping my mind. The horoscope effect, where you've read it and you've applied it to yourself. This is logic through my decisions and how I answered questions that created these results. So I could not read your report and feel like it applies to me.
Right.
At all. So
yeah,
stellar.
Yeah, and there's I know there are people out there. You can outsmart the test. Like
sure.
you can lie. He told us, he said it was crazy, Vince. He's like, if you look at their chart, which is what we're used to, the 4 bars from a disc, that's just the tip of the iceberg, but that's what most people think is the culmination of the disc. That's the beginning of his. So you look at those 4 bars, and he said if he gave us descriptions, he said if they're all 4 below 50, they're lying to you. And they're trying to trick the test. They're not answering authentically. And if 3 of them are really high and 1 of them is really low, you need to dig a little bit deeper. So there are outliers. There's things that he taught us about how to read these but for most of us, and there's a natural and an adaptive one. So natural is how you would be on your couch at home, and adaptive is how you have to perform in your job. Which, like, I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to finish reading Vince's or talk to Tracy's, because if those are super different, then there's tension and stress. You don't enjoy your job because you're trying to act like natural is who you are. If your adaptive doesn't match that, then you're all out of whack. Mine were literally laying on top of each other, Vince. You could barely see the 2 marks. You couldn't see one for the other. They were in the same little box.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's so good. And what's cool about this stuff, and everybody listening, we're not going to sell you short. I'm sure we'll have access to this. I know there's a way to get access. And we'll work through that. We're not selling this thing either, but
no.
It's cool I've been telling myself, you could feel yourself changing, right? As you get older, as you mature, as you change habits, behaviors, whatever. I have felt more, not soft, but more giving and more tender-hearted as a human, as opposed to just high D, Vince, blah, 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 military guy. And I got my results. I knew I would be a little lower on the D, a little higher on the I. I knew it because I answered these questions differently this time based on how I'm living my life now. So things like, giving back to the community were a little higher than they've ever been for me.
Yeah.
And I've been teaching my kids that
Yeah.
And that's not something I did community service in college because I had to.
Right.
I didn't care,
Uh-huh.
So it's so cool how you take this and you learn about yourself, and then everything we talk about in this podcast and life and basic, daily consistent actions, diet, exercise, you can apply all of this to that.
Yeah.
So when's the last time you really got to know yourself from a um, logical, scientific, behavioral level?
Right. Right.
Right? Cool, because that can help you a lot with what we're going to talk about next, which I'm sure is high inventory and no sales. So, it
Yeah.
all,
So that,
it all
yeah.
ties.
Yeah. And it definitely, I want you guys chime in. I saw that Dylan said yes. You guys tell me what you think of disc or version of it. Would you be interested? Because we have an opportunity. It's $150 per assessment is what that normally would charge, like they would charge to give this. But because we were in that class, we have a pretty cool opportunity. Wouldn't cost. I would purchase it for all of. I could be able to give 1,000 of these a year,
Yeah,
which I just think it changes. It changes everything. Like you don't ever hire, for those of you that do or in the real estate, but you don't hire another agent in the company unless you understand this about them. I don't think you don't sign buyer's agency with a client until you understand this about them. In my opinion,
exactly.
just
Yeah, and if you can't necessarily give the assessment to your buyers. You could if you want to have that model. That's great, but you could at least learn enough to pick up enough things about them in those first few moments or that phone call to go in a little bit about how should I approach this conversation.
yeah. Yeah. And I might be on the mountain and need to come off of it a little bit. Thanks, Christina, for being here and for chiming in. Um, but we got into so deep with Dr. Abelson at this class that he was sharing with us that if you give it to one, you have to give it to all. You can't discriminate, right? We have to be
Mhm.
fair. So we were talking about, and to me, it's like there were people in the class that were asking exactly kind of what you said. And you will get better. And we all already know how to do this to some degree. You can already kind of see a D from a mile away, or an I, or whatever. You start identifying behaviors. Motivations, though, are super hard to see from a distance. So I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't I just make this part of my buyer consultation? Hey, I've got a $150 assessment I'd love for you to do. It'll help me communicate better with you. I'll show you mine. We can swap reports if you're that kind of person, and let's just figure out how to make this time effective. That we communicate effectively. I care about you, and I want to know this about you. So let's do this. I don't know why you wouldn't do it with everybody, but that's just me. I got to sell this now to Rennie and Mandy and Vince and Tracy and the whole
And
gang.
there's value in having your own report as well and your own interactions. I know these have been around for decades. I get it. We're all jazzed up about something that's not new. But at what point have we considered it a serious implementation into your daily operations?
Yeah,
And at what point have we had an assessment this good?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and so this let's talk about so season 6. I want to thank those of you. I don't know if any of the guests are on here today, but thank you for being willing to tolerate our questions and our I don't know how you can describe what we do on here, Vince. It's just getting to know each other and finding out what's extra in the ordinary so people can grow. Thanks for being a guest. Season 7, for those of you that want to know, we do this season also. We'll take the summer off because we'll be traveling. We have a lot of kids, and Vince has got kids, and really like to just focus on family during the breaks. So we'll come back probably the week after Labor Day, and season 7 is going to be this. And I'm excited. If any of you want to, if anyone want to tell me this, I want you to, because you could be our first guest sign up. Actually, I've already got one signed up. What my granny told me
mm,
is going to be what we're doing. Because I've said this a few times. My granny said, if it doesn't light your fire, you got wet wood. So I
mhm.
want to hear from our guests, Vince, next season. What have they learned from somebody older than them, more experienced than them? It could be a coach, mentor, granny, grandma, dad, mom, whatever it might be. But we're going to call it what my granny told me. And I just like to hear some life lessons and dig deep, like why that person was significant to you. What did they say or do that mattered? And I bet we'll learn some things. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we'll probably jam up some pretty um, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, it's we never know what we're going to get when we do this, right? So Sometimes the most simple things that we hear from someone's granny or mentor, or whatever, can change literally your entire thought pattern.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the show is that we don't. What's the objective is just to learn something. Kind of the objective is to learn about people, get to know people. We're not really. We don't even talk a ton about the actual market data, statistics, things. We just talk to people, and you learn a lot from that. And I don't see why you should run your business any different than that.
Yeah.
So just being consistent, staying true to who we are. And Christina is definitely an option here for the show. So Christina is from the Northeast. Maybe he's got a comment there. She's probably she's probably a candidate here. We got to hear some of those life lessons.
Yes. Thank you for volunteering, Christina. Keep that in mind. I'm gonna write your name right here. I'm gonna put Jeremy Blanton because he's been on here, but I want to talk to Jeremy about what he learned from his elders. I know he's a YouTube extraordinaire, but I'm sure he didn't learn that from his elders. What life lessons did we learn? And I'm gonna write down Christina's name, because that's cool. But yeah, I mean, and I've learned when I did that assessment of myself, Vince, I realized this is another transparent moment for myself. And you guys should maybe ask yourself this question too. Like I'm a certain way, and I'm convinced that my videos that I do every week, 2 or 3 of them, I'm convinced that this podcast, I'm convinced every time I stand up at Recharge, every time I talk, I just bleed my personality, my behavior type. I just bleed it. And I know after I read those things that I am totally ineffective to a few different kinds of people. Like a high D probably is bored to death of this podcast. They're listening to this and they're like, can you just get to the friggin' point? So I did learn I need to be who I am, but I also need to learn how to pivot. And my videos, and AI is going to help me with this. My videos can be a little bit more to the point, or can be more directed. I can even go into AI and say, please make this appropriate for an S. I didn't know this, but I'm learning that. So that's pretty cool too. So that's where season 7 is going to be, and we'll start back around Labor Day. You'll see. I'll do some coming soons on social media, so you'll be able to tune in to when we jump back into the saddle. And I can't believe we're halfway through the year. We're halfway through 2025. Let's talk a little bit about 2025. You guys tell me what's going on? What's going on in the industry? What news have you heard? Let's talk about noise a little bit. What's the market?
We're gonna ask for you guys here. We've got Christina on here, Jeremy, Suzanne, Dylan White. These are people who sell real estate. Dan Ober and Emily. We've got real estate professionals in here, so you guys feed this. Tracy has a comment about disc real quick. I've heard these results change after a certain amount of time. I'm going to redo mine and see what's changed. My last one was in 17. Yeah. And wait for us to give you this one, Tracy, once we have our access. They absolutely will change because we change. The world around us changes. Things change.
Yeah. And for people that are like Tracy, like Vince, if you are learning based, you're going to change. But I don't think it changes quickly. Like you can't take a test and take another one in a month and it's going to be different. Because if you answer it authentically, I think it's going to take some time. But yeah, don't take it again right now because we got one we're going to get to you. Dylan, probably you too. Don't go find one online and pay money for it. Just wait. Just be patient with us. Dylan says, hi.
Yeah, well, good. I think it's important to talk a little bit real quick about before we get into what the people really want, which is market and real estate sales.
Yeah.
Selflessness is something that comes to mind whenever I look at these analysis and why to do these analysis, right? So it's important to learn about yourself, but imagine living your life as a person who, when you interact with someone, you're concerned with how they're feeling, how they're perceiving you. And I'm not saying to change your behaviors to please everyone and things like that, but you just said it. Anytime I do a video, I'm only, captivating one of the 4 categories, most likely. What if we cared enough about what we know we have to offer someone, the ability to help them, that we actually took time to practice, understand, and study how they think and how they receive things? I've lived my life thinking about me.
Right.
And I'll spend some time getting to my wife really well, or, my 7-year-old reacts to this. He's kind of like this kind of personality. But what if we had this skill to where we could process pretty quickly and make some assumptions about where people are, and we cared enough to make our interactions valuable to them? And you
Right.
guys may be living there, and I may be the one that's, morally behind here. Um, but I think it's cool, and it's not easy. Like there will be hours of studying and research and reading to learn how to get good at this.
Yeah.
Um, but I just think it's cool that if you take your mind to I'm going to interact selflessly and ensure that other people are getting benefit from my interactions. At that point, my tactic and strategy and all matters a little less because my intent is so pure.
Yeah.
So it's like Gary Vaynerchuk would say, I'll take an A plus personality with B minus skills all day over A plus skills and a C minus personality.
Right.
Right. So the human itself is always going to be the root, most important cause. But we
Yeah.
forget about that a lot. We're calling expired listings and we're sales strategy and we're doing all this. And you always bring us back to the human. And I appreciate that.
Well, yeah. Remind me. I want to talk about AI in a few minutes because we've got Mandy and I had some deep conversations about that. But let's hop in here see what Jeremy says. Business has been great, but it's been a battle to get to the table for closing day anywhere near on time. Is that you guys give it a thumbs up if that's true? You're talking about just delays and a lot of work that has to happen after the contract's written. Is that what you're saying? Just taking people a long time to get there. That's a good one to talk about. Suzanne says, I'm facing some reluctance in my clients. However, knowledge is power. So I've been spending more time with each of them, sharing how to offset any hurdles. Yeah, and that's two high-level professionals right there talking about real issues. Timing is frustrating because you can't control it, right, Jeremy? You're just because I know you and most of the people that are listening here. You are on you're on top of your systems, and so your process is going perfectly. But it's frustrating. Let's see if Jeremy's going to. I would say there's an abundance of business out there. Find your tribe that you're authentically. Yeah, good. That's
Yeah.
good. That's and Dylan gave it a thumbs up, so he must have agreed with the timing of things. You think, Vince? Do y'all think that 2025 is here? We are almost June 1st. Is it what we thought it was going to be? Can you remember back to October what we were talking about, looking forward, what everybody was projecting? Do y'all remember that? And are we there? Or do you not even pay attention to it? You just got your nose down and you're not worried about it. Maybe that's.
I did pay attention to it, and it's not what I was expecting. It's not what Brian Buffini was expecting. Some of these guys that know. I think it's slower. Can I say the word?
Yeah.
Can we give the market that much power? At what point do we go, okay, I'm not changing my actions as far as my beliefs and mindset, and I'm doing the basics. Maybe I'm doing more of the right things. But where do we cross the line? And our coach's head could be exploding if he's watching this. Where do we cross the line of the market does affect me? Not my actions, but it affects my results. Because there's power in interest rates and inventory and inflated prices. I want to hear you guys tell us kind of where your head's at, or does it not matter at all?
Right. Yeah, Jeremy, I agree with you that. And delays, let's talk about this for a second, real quick. I think you have to let people know ahead of time that you're experiencing that. I know that that's like an expectation that you're setting in the beginning. I'm sure Jeremy's already doing this. Hey, we're experiencing a bunch of delays that we haven't seen in the past, and we might run across these things. Mr. and Mrs. Smith just did. We were planning to close May the 1st, and we ended up closing the 15th. We're going to do all that we can to get closed on time, but there's things that we can't help, right? And I think here's Jeremy says, I'm not slower. I've been busier than ever. Just taking a lot more work to convert from contract to closing. That's interesting because I would thought there's more to get them to contract.
Same.
But you're saying there's a lot. That's something I've just learned today. Something from after you get them committed, they bought in to get them closed is taking more time. I didn't know that.
Logistics and processing, Jeremy. That seems to be your struggle right now.
Yeah, I wonder if the attorneys and the lenders, and I know you choose good ones. I wonder what their reasoning is, like why they're because we don't need that honestly. Because if you're getting them under contract in time, we owe it. Everybody owes it to them to get them closed. I mean, the last thing we need is these things falling apart, and the longer the delays happen, the more that's not fair to the client, right? So I'm sure you've asked that.
Just threw up a nice one that I like.
Yeah, let me look at this one. See, never heard of this guy before. The lawsuits that happened have made most of my open houses busier than before. The only way people think they can see a house without signing their life away. Huh. Well,
Interesting.
hey,
We did know that was coming. We did predict that more unrepresented buyers would be coming to open houses.
yeah,
And I also predicted that agents would get better at the skill of getting signatures on paper. But that would require you to know how to do your job properly.
yeah,
Right. I think a
yeah,
lot of folks have learned how to properly do their jobs as real estate agents in the last 12 months. Fair?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. And for people that are skilled, like that would say to me, if I wasn't doing open houses, I should be. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you never have before, if you're a highly skilled individual and you are looking for more business, put your highly skilled self in an open house where people are coming in and out. And I listened to this over the week on the plane back. Was David Scott, our coach, talking about labeling the looker. That's what you do in an open house. Like every single person deserves to be put in a category, and every single person, maybe they're the looky neighbor, the nosy neighbor. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to get that nosy neighbor, if they don't already have a relationship with a real estate agent, in my database. I mean, why not? Because they're going to buy or sell in the future. If they're looking for tires, you know what I'm going to send them? To Discount Tire. If they walk in my open house and they say, I'm looking for tires, and you're like, well, that's weird. I'm expecting some tire kickers, but not any tire shoppers. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to say, I don't know, I can't help you. I'm gonna do like Vince did with me. I'm gonna send them straight to Discount Tire. Help people where they are. Let's see what Jeremy says here. We can only control our narrative here, but those buying here are selling in other places, and those areas just don't work like here. It's more contingency contracts than in past years. Okay, I got that. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, people are listening from everywhere, so I think it's important to know your market, right? I read this morning, Seattle, Washington, which it's irrelevant to me, is 60% on average showing seller concessions, whereas which tells me buyer market, where Tampa Bay is at 29% seller concessions, less than half of that. So do you know what's happening around you in your market as you walk into a listing presentation? I'm big on just knowing how to do your job. I like to say, if you can't do your job, I can't be your friend. So that speaks to that. Know what's going on around you at baseline for sure.
Yeah, I was surprised when we were at this class this past week. People all over the country, there's still places that have multiple offers, no inventory, none, like none.
Yeah.
And they're getting multiple offers. And I was like, wow, that's different, because we've got condos that, like Gene Carter would say, you couldn't get multiple looks, much less multiple offers. So very different around us. Suzanne says the price of existing homes, and this season, Suzanne's in Charleston, South Carolina, they're starting to go down for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that affects the listing client. It should do what to the buyers, though? It should either wake them up or make them wait more, because they think it's going to come down further. But it doesn't work that way.
We play a silly game here where we wait long enough and then we just create the opposite problem from before. That's supply and demand world.
Supply and demand, basic supply and demand.
Sean Austin made a fun one here, and I want to know, Sean, we're not going to let you get away with that. How do I not participate in a recession? I know you've got it in you. Type it out, jam it out. We want to hear back from you.
I love that. I'll go to the next one while Sean's coming back to us. Another big thing right now, those selling got to make it super competitive to deal with our new home inventory, and your house has to be updated to look at new. And that's another expectation you better share on the front end, right? Because the new home, what can they offer? I mean, they're buying down the rate as a company.
And some closing costs, HVAC warranties, roofs new.
Yeah. Good for them. I mean, that's a competitive advantage. And as Jared James would say, if somebody's doing something competitively that you're talking about or mad about, go do it yourself. Mm-hmm. Figure out a way to do it yourself.
We've got an agent who vectored all her business to marketing to new buyers. And I think 85% has probably been new construction sales. What I'm talking about, for her last 18 months.
Yeah, that's another good thing, is if you need more business, and not all of us do, like Suzanne, that point that you just made, maybe you're not used to working with buyers. You're primarily a listing agent, but there's opportunity to go around and meet these new home consultants and get them in your fold and start treating them like they're your client What if you knew their disc? And not to be redundant, but imagine if how many people are taking the time to get to know those people? And I've already harped on this with Lawton before, but how many people are really taking the time to get to know those on-house people? Those on-site people, and caring about it and doing something for them, and not just asking for something, but delivering something as well. That's what we do as humans. But there's two. We've already brought two up, open houses and new home sales. That there's an opportunity. If you're not busy enough, go find some more. There's it's out there. I did a video this morning, Vince, that I hope you guys will watch, because I thought it's like an aha moment for me, because I heard one of my coaches say this morning, we're so talking about unprecedented times. Oh, here we go. Let me get Sean real quick.
Get the Ted Lasso reference in here. No stinking thinking. So it's mindset for Sean. Just ignore it till it goes away, or never face it and continue having the success you're having.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like a football game. Like if you played football, if the weather goes south, like it starts really raining or really snowing, you might change your cleats. You might get different gloves.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do as agents, and we have to adapt to some degree, but you don't change your game plan. You still stick to what you know. You can't, the fact of the matter is, you can't do what you don't know. You can't become something you're not already. So, and my coach said this morning, I thought was fascinating. Like, we're so talking about uncertain times, like these times are so uncertain. Well, here's a news flash. Every time is uncertain. Mm-hmm. Like, think about the day before 9/11, the day before Kennedy was assassinated, the day before the pandemic. We thought we knew. Mm-hmm. We didn't know. Yeah. So the day before, the rates didn't fall like we thought they would, or the president election didn't go like we thought it would, or all this nonsense in Russia, or the tariffs, or whatever. Everything is uncertain. So what do you have to do in uncertain times? Exactly what Sean is talking about. Do the certain things, right? And that's exactly what he's saying. They've got a couple. I'm getting behind. Let's see, because I talk too much. Pre-listing appraisal inspection, so there are no gotchas. That's a good one. Good practical tip. Here's another one from Jeremy, who's been doing real estate for a few weeks, right? I adopted a few years back to work with buyers, 16 under contract, 14 are buyers. New construction. Pretty cool. You can brag all you want about being a listing agent. Like, I only take listings, but hey, if it's a buyer's market, you might want to do
listings last. Well, Jeremy's got 14 buyers under contract right now.
You know what that does? Pays your mortgage. That's a good word. Let's talk a little bit. We got a few minutes left. Vince, you got anything pressing that you want to bring up? I don't want to dominate so much.
No, I didn't know how much you were going to get into, noise, right? So acquisitions and the big guys. And I know you've read up on the Rocket stuff. Did you want to talk about that? We don't have to.
No, I think that's a good one. I want to touch on that. We'll touch on that and then AI. That's a good one.
Yeah. I don't know. You give us your perception of the Rocket acquiring Redfin and also Mr. Cooper. Billions of dollars that they're invested. I mean, what do you think?
I think, and I'd love to hear if you guys are even thinking about it. You may or may not be thinking about it, right? And that's probably good strategy also. But from where we sit, I feel like we have to lead you guys through this. That's kind of part of what I feel like I do. I think Zillow, I'd said the Z word right here on the podcast. I think for the last 24 months, in the midst of the market that we were saying now has been not what we thought the previous 24 months was. It certainly hasn't been. Although, Vince, halfway through the year, we're a tad better than we were in 2024. Mm-hmm. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, let's not forget, like, houses are selling, buyers are buying.
Yeah, and the experts are excelling. The experts are excelling.
Absolutely.
But what is going on with Zillow and what's going on, what you're talking about with Rocket and Redfin, I wouldn't recommend you go look at Google and say, tell me what's going on with Rocket and Redfin, because it's a little bit more, it can be a little conspiracy theory-ish, in my opinion. But I think what they are recognizing is something we're trying to recognize, and you each should recognize also, is process matters. Keeping control of a mindset of a buyer or seller matters. We've been talking about ancillary services. That's why we have property management and we had mortgage and we've got insurance. Because if you can keep and Jeremy just talked about it, he's got a team of people. We all have a team of people that we're trying to keep them in our ecosystem. Well, when you have a mighty powerhouse like Zillow that now has an app that literally goes from soup to nuts, my granny used to say, from the beginning of the end of the process, and a consumer can get in there and not have to go talk to any other person. They can stay in this one ecosystem. That is strong. I think that's something that needs to be paid attention to. That's what I think, in my opinion, that's what Redfin and Rocket are trying to do.
That's the only reason I asked the question, is just to bring up the point that let's say you're an agent out there and you feel like you want to level up, or you're looking around. Are you in a place that can provide, or do you have access to services formally that can make the experience of buying and selling more concierge than ever?
Yeah.
And people you actually know, right? We have preferred folks and all, but where are your ancillary services in your business that can lead to referrals because the process was so smooth?
Yeah.
It matters. It just matters.
And that's what Rocket and Redfin are doing. They recognize Zillow's doing this, and so they're responding to it. Redfin is a real estate company, in quotes, and they bought. Now they've got Rocket Mortgage. They are together. They've also added on another servicer. So that's a thing. Like, if you're listening to this and you don't have that in your environment, like Vince said, it's something to pay attention to. Vince, I even have this crazy thing. Like, I own a home. And when I have a problem with my home, I hate having to call 15 different people. Like, I don't want to remember, oh my God, who's my plumber? Oh, who can handle my irrigation, or who can handle my dock, or whatever. You know what would be cool for me is if I had one person I could call and they would get that. And I do. I've got one guy and he knows all the best. And Lori White's my go-to. Like, Lori White's my concierge in a lot of ways. She's probably not on here.
Yeah, it's your guy's
If
guy.
she knows everybody, like, I don't even have to call. I just call one person. That's the whole point. You should be that one person. Don't give all your cards away either. Like, don't. I love the idea of referring them to Revolution or whoever your mortgage person is, but keep some control of it so that they think you are the resource. And then I also saw Rennie sent me something this morning about a recruiting piece that was talking about brand.
Yeah.
And it was from somebody who doesn't have one, which I think is hilarious.
But I was like, oh, look, that door is wide open.
But I think that's something important that everybody needs to pay attention to, is who you work for and what you stand for. Do people trust it inherently? Like, is it just part of it? Because you can't. That's Zillow's struggle, is that most realtors don't love it. If they could figure out a way to make realtors love it, it would be game over.
Yeah.
Because consumers don't feel that way, because what have they done for years? What has Zillow done with the consumer's price?
Mm-hmm.
They've inflated it, so consumers love Zillow. But if they can figure out how to get realtors, and they're starting to learn, what they're doing, they're changing the way they give out referrals.
They're putting your information on the actual listing.
So they're not dumb, but you have to be in control, in my opinion. And this leads me to the other thing, Vince. There's a lot of people out there afraid of AI.
Yeah, let's go.
Like, somebody just said, Mandy read, in 18 months, no need for a real estate agent. You do the whole thing, soup to finish, right, start to finish, not have any. And I have my opinions, but what do y'all think of that? Like, because it already does your CMA. You call it something different, but it's AI doing it. It can already do neighborhood searches. It can do, anything that's on Google, it can gather it for you and put it together and send it to you in a nice form. What do y'all think? Are y'all afraid of AI? Are you embracing it? Vince, it's funny on the screen right now. I don't know if everybody can see it. I've got me with a beard, me without a beard, and you without a beard, and you with a beard. See up there in the top? Is that still on there? It's kind of funny. Totally not related to anything.
I'm afraid I'm afraid of it being taken away from me as much as I've integrated it into my processes now. That's not the question you asked, but I'm not formulating thoughts on my own other than my prompts. and I have an AI that can make my prompts for me on how to better prompt my AI. And don't rip that away from me now, because my wife's business is built on her AI processes, and I'm integrating it into my daily life. And I'm gonna ride that wave and integrate it into my real estate business personally.
Yeah.
Let's see what Jeremy just had to say here, so we're gonna keep it audience based. Ooh, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, that's what my first reaction, because these things scare some people, and I tend to be on the other end of the spectrum where I feel like if you're the best at what you do, you'll always be around. So,
Mhm.
but what Jeremy's saying, I think, is true, and what AI can't do yet, and will it ever be able to do? By nature, AI is not human, so it can't make a human connection unless
Which
it can
also
figure out how to be
means,
human.
it may avoid a lot of human error. So those crises that you're referring to, like, we let enough cars self-drive, accident rates go to virtually zero.
Right.
It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting, and it's
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, we have to rise above. Tracy says this will weed out the part timers and the agents that just don't know. I mean, that's the fear, is people that, like somebody said, AI is not going to replace you, but an agent that embraces AI might. That's the problem. Like, you better. I'm not a shiny object guy. This is like calling the internet a shiny object. This
Yeah,
is not a shiny object. AI is a real. Like, it is,
yeah.
and it is deeper than we all think. It is deeper and more than we think. People crave human interaction. The more technical the world becomes, they won't find a fine
I like
balance.
I like the balance approach for sure.
Yeah, yep, I like that too. AI is an excellent assistant, but it can't replace the handle of crisis, because each crisis is unique, because humans are still buying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's the whole point. Like, how many transactions? And here's another thing, Vince. I thought about when I'm, because here I am now starting to worry about it after Mandy brought this up a day or two ago. How many residential sales transactions do you do that have zero emotion? That
None.
somebody doesn't just need a little shove to make the decision, or doesn't need a little bit of reason to overcome an objection. And maybe, I mean, can AI learn those things? I don't know. I mean,
I'm gonna answer this question, Jeremy. I think you're gonna. Me and Jeremy love to poke holes and get better together. I think you're gonna like this, and everybody listening. We asked, AI affecting business, the future of real estate. Will realtors be gone in 18 months? What if we answered that by saying it doesn't actually matter? And I'm going to go a little theory here, because if I show up and be the best I can be at my disciplines and my basic practices, I can apply that to anything. Let's say AI takes it over, and now we have a whole new set of jobs that can employ our families and feed our families, and it's not selling houses. Let's just say that. Well, if you haven't been showing up with core disciplines and values every day, you're already done. So our coach told me, because I asked him this question, he said, "Doesn't matter, Vince. Show up, do your best every day, have the moral value, ethics in you to be the best version, and then you can go be the best version in whatever industry you need to be to feed your family." Not the answer everybody's going to want to hear right now, and
right.
I don't personally believe we're going to disappear in 18 months. But that's one thing that we can't overlook in this conversation is, how rooted are you in hard work, dedication, commitment, loyalty, patience, resiliency, things like that, so that it doesn't matter. So it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I
But
think that's an excellent point.
too. Yeah. Workflow productivity, definitely tons of room there, Suzanne. Tons of room for it to help there.
And this kind of parlays with what I was talking about earlier with these behavioral and motivational assessments. If there's anything, that's what was screaming at me at this conference, was we're trying to find out a way to connect to humans more, so that they're less inclined to go to Zillow. They're less inclined to go to AI. They're less inclined to try to find an artificial solution for what they're looking for. We all Google it. Maybe we all look into selections. But if you knew what somebody's motivators were, and you knew their personality behaviors, their behavior traits, and you could genuinely connect with them, they're going to choose you over AI.
Absolutely.
because it feels good and it's satisfying. And I know there's probably something scientific and chemical and biological that goes along with that. But when you find somebody that you really connect to, and that's just what we thought about WebMD. WebMD was going to put doctors out of business, but some people still like the bedside manner, and that's why it ended up being where it is.
Exactly.
I love AI doing all the driving. 3 humans on the road. Yeah, you're right.
It's right. The humans are the ones buying the houses.
You're right. Michael
I love
Thorne
this
said it.
too. I remember that briefing, Jeremy. We were in the same room. I think that's about where we're going to land for the right agents. I think agents who understand are going to land right about that 85-15 mark. And that 85 of the work time is going to go straight to my family and my boat and my pool and my life.
Yeah. And you have to keep in mind too, like I think people are afraid of AI because it's almost like a witchcraft, like somebody's predicting the future. And hey, guess what? It doesn't know the future. You're better at the future than AI is, by the way, because AI is based on what's happened in the past. That's where I think this also could meet a crossroads. Is what we deal with every day in our cars and in living rooms is what's getting ready to happen. Like we're trying to get someone from point A to point B through a future list of activities, and AI can recommend what those should be based on what just has happened over history, and that might be a good guess. But the truth is, we started this podcast by saying every day is uncertain. So why wouldn't you rather have a human consultant, like Jeremy said, that can guide you through the future activities? AI is based on everything that's happened in the past. It's not predictive. I mean, have you ever asked it? Tell me what's next Wednesday is going to be. I mean, it doesn't even know. It can tell you that it's going to be Wednesday, May the whatever, but it can't tell you what's going to be happening in people's hearts, lives. And humans, we make decisions not based on history. A lot of times, we do it based on what we need, and I don't think AI is there yet. But I mean,
you nailed it, saying there's no decision of buying a house. Typically, maybe some really, even like the high level commercial investor world, there's still emotion involved in return on their investments. Even if someone tries 100% AI transaction model, an actual, I don't care, make a bot that walks me around the house, the experience is not going to be what it is when Jeremy Blanton is showing you this house.
Yeah.
And talking to you about where to work and where to live and what's good and what's not in town. But I'm not going to ignore it to the point to where it doesn't write my contract for me in 3 minutes on my drive back to the office.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's
for sure. Leverage it for sure.
Yeah.
All right, good discussions. Let's see, let's see. Yep, exactly. And I think, the cool thing too, to wrap it up, is not cool for these people, but cool for those of us that are going to be elite. There's going to be a lot more room. There's going to be a lot more room because a lot of people are going to go they're going to get out of here. They're not going to be able to adapt. They're going to choose not to adapt. They don't have daily routines or practices that are going to allow them to absorb something new like this. And so there's going to be more for those of us that want it.
Yeah, if you don't know your upper limits, you don't know your lower limits, this is all very scary. This is all very intimidating. I get to say, okay, I know I need 17 transactions this year to live the life I want to live, working this many weeks a year, this many hours a day, this many contacts and relationships built, because I've thought about that. So whether I leverage the AI to get there or not, or how much or how little, bring all that down into what do I need for my life to be abundant. And then all this gets way less scary really fast.
Yep, that's right. Last comment, we'll wrap it up. We have opinions and AI won't. I love that. Yeah, I love that. It's consulting, right? Can it consult? I don't know that it can yet, and maybe that will never happen. Good conversations. Yeah, we hit Jeremy's hot button. Look,
I love it.
I love that.
I wouldn't doubt it, Jeremy.
Yeah, you guys reach out to us if you want to talk about this further. We've got some great. Here's Christina. We can't even stop the comments. Never got us anywhere. When things get tough and uncomfortable, pivot. I love that. Thanks, Christina, for being on here. Suzanne's wrapping up with a comment. Can't offer compassion and concern for the buyer or seller. Doesn't take the call at 9 from a stressed out client. Not yet. But I don't think.
Even if it does, it's not going to be Suzanne Clark on the other end of that call getting you what you need and filling that cup back up or whatever. So,
and if it ever gets to that point, then Suzanne, if it ever gets to be Suzanne, then you just find the island that you want to spend all your time on and let it go. Let it work. That's what I'm gonna do. Jeremy says he doesn't take that call either after 9 or on the weekends, but that's just Jeremy. Thanks for being here today, Rise Up Nation. Season 6 is a wrap. Looking forward to seeing you guys in season 7. You'll be getting some information, but it'll be about Labor Day. Vince, as always, I appreciate doing this side by side with you.
Of course.
Blessings to you over the summer. We got a meeting at 11 o'clock, so let's go do it.
Yep, let's do that. You guys remember to, do something kind for somebody today. I'm going to say Mandy Fulford's one of her things. You may go fast alone. You go a whole lot farther together, guys. So thanks for another good season, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.